going on, guys? Welcome to our Alpha Media podcast. We're here with our special guest today. So, Ross, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hello, yes. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm Ross. I am basically the owner and the coach of RLS Coaching here in Norwich. Thanks for having me on the show.
No problem at all. Obviously, we've got Ben here as well, which obviously makes us, this little team that we are for every single week, guys. Right. So today, obviously, we wanted to sort of discuss, obviously, what Ross is all about, and obviously how he sort of, started his business and everything that obviously he achieved so far. But also, we want to obviously touch on the topic of sort of mental health, as obviously this is sort of now the time where everything is sort of more stressful for everyone and it's more sort of difficult. We just want to sort of, talk about that, how we can overcome all the challenges that we have got in life. So, to start with you, Ross, can you just sort of tell me sort of about yourself? When did you start the business, and so sort of what made you sort of, start it essentially?
The idea of my personal training actually goes back probably about, how old am I now? 29. So I actually got my qualification when I was 18, but I didn't actually do anything with it. I was jobless, and to be honest, the opportunity was there to get the qualification for free, which to my surprise, now looking back at it, it's actually quite shocking considering if you put in perspective how many coaches there are out in the world, how easy it is to obtain a personal training qualification really is. Like, I got this qualification, I think, within 8 weeks. Yeah, where you kind of look at some of the stuff that coaches deal with nowadays is quite a bit, whereas what you actually learn on the qualification course is actually quite small. But yeah, basically, I got the qualification, did nothing with it, and I went into another job. Basically, I had that job for pretty much 5 years in between getting the qualifications, and basically got to the point where I was miserable with the current job I was in. And all my life before getting the qualification, all my GCSEs, all my qualifications before that, I went to college and stuff to get everything in sport, was leading up to that. And basically I just took the opportunity, quit my job, and got a job here where I am now at the gym on Hall Road, basically. And that was now 3 years ago. So basically I got into personal training from not being happy with my other job, but knowing at some point I would always use that qualification almost. And my life was kind of leading towards being some sort of in this industry, basically.
All right. Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, obviously before you've got into it, what did you used to sort of do before? So that job that you sort of like you've taken upon, just sort of briefly talk us through what you were doing.
Before I was the personal trainer, I was actually working for a charity, basically delivering and collecting furniture. A local charity actually. And yeah, like it was a cushy job. It was one of those 9 to 5 ones, but the issue that I found was I was not satisfied with the job. It had no prospect. The same thing was happening day to day, like Monday to Friday, sometimes working Saturday as well, in a retail shop, because obviously we sold the furniture as well. But it was easy, but because it was easy, it made it boring. Obviously, lifting furniture itself, it can be quite difficult. Like some days we would be lugging washing machines up and down like 6 flights of stairs, which can be physically hard. But the mental side of it was just starting to get quite boring, basically. And it got to the point where not only my mental health was taking a toll, my physical health was taking a toll as well. I was at my heaviest when I was at this job. Considering I had all this knowledge prior to having this job of nutrition and exercise and stuff like that, I'd actually put it to the back of my mind. And as I said, my mental toll, my physical toll was really affecting me. And that's kind of what made me go a little bit more into the direction I'm in now,
Hmm.
basically, because it pushed
Yeah.
me to lose
Yeah.
weight, get better mentally as well. As you say, we're touching on that a little bit later as well. But it didn't help that my relationship at the time was unstable as well. But it was that kind of moment that I realized that I was heading nowhere in life and I
Hmm.
wanted to get out. And I
Yeah.
basically handed my notice in. I didn't even think about the money side of it. I just like, I need to get out of there. If I don't do it now, then I could be here another 5 years, basically.
All right. Wow. Well, from both of us, obviously from both me and Ben, obviously I will speak for Ben as well. Obviously we come from sort of retail background ourselves, sort of the food retail essentially. And yeah, it sort of became quite stale in a way. It was sort of like you're working for someone else's dream, aren't you? And you sort of like you want to achieve something different in life, don't you? Like you want to be sort of technically your own boss. You want to have that sort of freedom, don't you? And obviously, it's nice to see that obviously you've sort of come out of that as well, and you sort of like taken on a different approach, and actually you sort of challenging. You taking on the different challenges on as you're sort of your own boss, and you're dealing with it quite in a good way from what it seems. You've taken everything on board, and you well making a success from what it seems, which is amazing. It's good.
Yeah.
So just going obviously talking with regards to obviously having your own sort of coaching business and things like that. How do you obviously what are your thoughts obviously on being your own boss in that sort of respect?
So the good thing that I got from my prior job was that my manager then was quite lenient. He would
Hmm.
delegate quite a lot of the managerial jobs to myself, which gave
Yeah.
me a lot of kind of business knowledge as well. Because obviously it wasn't a big charity, it wasn't a big shop, so a lot of the stuff did fall down to me and the boss basically back then. But as you said, like working for someone else and or like I can't even remember how much money I was on. I knew I was on more than national minimum wage, but as you said, when you're making money for someone else, it's it's almost belittling. And
Yeah.
I found
Yeah.
that since being my own boss, like the good thing, I know not all gyms do this as well, but the good thing about being at the gym, I all my profits I keep. I know a lot of gyms sometimes take commission,
Hmm.
but the good thing about here, you pay your rent and everything you make, you get to keep. And that can
Okay.
really push you into earning more and more per hour, basically.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
from when I started, I put myself on the minimum that I could potentially earn, basically, because
Yeah.
I wanted to reflect my prices on my experience, and obviously not being an experienced coach back then, I only put myself on about £20 an hour, which obviously is more than national minimum wage for 95,000. But
Yeah.
people don't realise when it comes to coaching, it's not just the hour that the person is paying for you to train them in the gym; it's everything that goes outside it as well. The nutrition side, the programs, the advertising, the marketing, stuff like that as well. So that 1 hour could potentially reflect into about 2 or 3 hours. So sometimes you
Yeah.
may be paying yourself less than national minimum wage, depending on how much work you're doing.
Hmm.
And over the years, once I've now became a little bit more experienced, I've now got a couple more qualifications under my belt. I've got a lot more knowledge under my belt as well. I've helped probably looking on about 100 people now, whether they're paid or not paid. Um, I've now increased my prices to nearly double what I was
Yeah.
potentially charging beforehand. And that's even better as being
Yeah.
your own boss because everything that you do, you reap the rewards as well.
Hmm.
So all the
Yeah.
work, all the
Yeah.
money, all goes to yourself. And being your own boss, like you, if you've got an issue, obviously you're the one who's got to kind of fix that as well. That's the only
Yeah.
downside as well. You've got kind of got nobody um to go
Go
up,
to, isn't it?
yeah, to say, look, I've got this problem. How do I fix that? And I've actually invested in a business coach myself
All right. Okay.
who helps who's been helping me for the past year actually, to help maximize profits as well, and basically make sure, and going on to like the online side as well, because I hadn't even been online for for the first like 2 years basically,
Hmm.
and he's
Yeah.
really helped kind of push me in the right direction. But you're not going to him to say that you're my boss, give me something to
Yeah.
do. You're going to someone who's been there, done that, and they're pushing you in the right way rather than saying do this, do that. If
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And now, quick break for adverts.
I'd take this opportunity to talk about what we're about here at Alpha Media. We inspire others to start an online business. Give them the blueprints. Show them the way to start making their first commission online. Escape the 9 to 5. We should have a link listed somewhere, either around or beneath this video in the description. If you click on that link, you'll go through to a web page. On that web page there'll be a video with myself or Dave talking through what those sort of next steps look like and through that process. Apart from that, thank you for taking the time to watch our content and enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Right, what's going on, guys? Dave here from Alpha Media Team. If you are thinking about starting a podcast, but you do not know where to begin or where to start, why not try and give Riverside FM a go? It's a great new tool for the fraction of the price that allows you to create great podcasts with editing capabilities of very expensive programs. So why not click the link in the bio and start your journey on becoming and having the best podcast on the internet.
Fitness industry. It's something I looked into when I was first starting out and wanting to be my own boss, because it's like a passion of mine as well. It come across as being quite a competitive industry and market. What's your sort of take on that, and how do you sort of stand out above the crowd, like locally, but also online as well?
So yeah, the thing is as well, like yes, there are quite a few coaches in gyms and online. Some of them may class themselves more as like influencers, and this is a bit of a misconception with the fitness injury as well. Because you can take my gym for example. We had probably about 12 to 15 PTs post or pre-COVID, and now we have
Mhm.
6. And the question
Oh,
I
wow.
pose to both you guys are how many online coaches and in-gym coaches would you say are good or better than good?
You go first, Ben.
There's no one sort of in my head locally that stands out as like good. Obviously, I know there's influencers in the fitness industry that like UK based that seem to be or come across like they're doing quite well. But in terms of like sort of local, probably like starting out or small sort of coaches, there's no one that stands out. Like I know quite a few people in Norwich. I train at all the different gyms and stuff. There's no one that really stands out, so it's quite a good question, to be fair.
I would probably say that same thing. It's quite. I don't know. It's quite hard, really. Like I don't know how to explain this. It is there isn't anyone that sort of for me especially just stands out. Obviously, in sort of going and obviously sort of focusing on you, I started seeing a lot more content from you actually as well on social media. I started following you and stuff like that. So I've seen a lot of that, and I've sort of followed a few other ones from previous as well that used to obviously be at that gym that you're in there now, and they haven't sort of posted as much. So obviously, I can see a bit of a difference in you now. You sort of started going a bit quite regular with it, and it's quite nice actually. And you've got your own podcast, which is superb. But yeah, you sort of, for me, you seems to be sort of standing out because everyone else just sort of be like, we just do our bit, one post a day.
And that's exactly the question, is that there are so many coaches out there, but there's so many coaches just doing the bare minimum. basically.
Mm.
And a lot of coaches that you do see are literally just in the gym. They turn up and they leave, and
Yeah.
that's literally their day. And this is where fitness trainers, coaches all get a bad rep from, because people see these coaches, they see them throwing people on stupid diets. They see people working to the absolute brink of basically collapse in the gym, and they go home and that's it, that job done. Whereas
Yeah.
there's a small handful of coaches that I would like to put myself into that teach people proper techniques. Our job doesn't just stop in the gym. Like, as soon as we leave the gym, we still work. We make sure people are turning up to the gym when we're not there. We're making sure people are keeping on track with their calories and macros, marketing and advertising ourselves as well, as you said, on social media. Like, before I got my business coach, which I said beforehand, I was one of those people that literally, like, once a week would post potentially a picture of myself there saying, look, this is me. Hello, you've probably had seen me for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I have found about the market is turn up, do the work. You may not see results, and it's exactly the same as fat loss. Like, if you don't
Yeah.
turn up, it's not going to happen. If you don't do the work,
Exactly.
it's not going to happen. And it's the same as
Yeah.
business. If you're not consistently going out there looking for the work or doing the work, it's not going to come to you. And
Yeah.
the issue is, so many coaches and PTs are thinking it's easy,
Mm.
because they come into the gym, they're new, they're fresh. Yes, they may pick up loads of leads within the first 6 months, but afterwards they start seeing a drop, and they're wondering why.
Yeah.
Well, they're not doing the stuff that they've done at the beginning to get clients, and they start panicking, and then they start doing the
Yeah.
same thing, and then they get comfortable again, and then they drop again. And the issue is they're not doing the stuff consistently the whole time when they've got clients, when they haven't got clients. And the one thing that no one teaches you when you're getting your PT qualification is business, because
Yeah.
you're running a business. And the amount of PTs that I see fail within the first year because they're too comfortable, and they've potentially got a second job, because they're not willing to leave their first job and put in the effort to try and get more money and get more clients and actually make a business out of it, because they're expecting it to come easy. They're expecting them to stand in the gym,
Just
look
happen
in,
in it.
yeah, just happen, just literally stand there and people will flood to them. But yes, that may happen in the first case, because like a lot of people, they see something new, they want to buy into that, and once they find that it's not actually what they're looking for, then they drop out. And this is what I'm seeing. This is what I've seen over the last 3 years. The amount
Yeah.
of PTs, not calling anyone out, not saying they haven't done the job, but the amount of PTs that are coming into the industry and not realizing that it's fucking hard to run a business. You
Yeah.
to think about your clients on one hand, but then think, I need to market, I need to advertise, I need to grow, is ridiculous, because they just don't know. And personally, there needs to be something changed within the qualification to say whether there's an extended course to help you kind of launch your business, to help you kind of like gain that insight, to say that there's one thing training someone, there's another one trying to get someone to actually train. And I would like to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
what makes me differ from others is, you see a lot of coaches online, they preach about, like, they can do it themselves, but they can't actually preach that they can do it for other people. And the difference with myself is that you see so many coaches boast on about these 12-week programs, these quick fixes. The quick fixes
Yeah.
do work, but they yo-yo. They come back and forth.
Yeah.
That they'll smash it, then they'll end up going back.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
judge myself on, I don't do that. I get you results, but they might not be within 12 weeks. I will give you the tools and knowledge to be able to do that consistently, whether you're with me or with not. Once you've left my services, I expect you to either continue on with the process, or if you have reached your goal and in 1 year, 2 years, you might have went on a bit of a binge and potentially reverted back, you won't need to seek help again because you already know what you're doing.
Essentially, what makes you different in a nutshell is going that extra mile for all your sort of clients, isn't it? That's essentially what it is, and what makes you sort of stand out from everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is as well, you if you guys are in the gym as well, you know that probably about 10-20% of it happens actually in the gym. The rest of it actually happens outside the gym. Your
Yeah.
diet,
Yeah.
your activity, therefore your lifestyle, all that cannot be measured in the gym. The only thing that you can measure in the gym is how hard you work pushing the weights or running, basically.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. 100%.
One thing I would like to ask is, why don't you think they're not covering off like a business aspect of the qualification, or not yet?
I think the reason why they don't cover that in the actual qualification is because qualification is telling you how to train someone. That's it. That's all they need to teach you basically to actually get you in the gym and teaching other people. That's it. That's the bottom line. It's up to you whether you're going to put it into a business, whether you're going to go into a school to do it, or potentially go and do it online. And it's basically up to you to find out that other information yourself.
Yeah.
It's money at the end of the day. Like, they can make money quickly by getting people in, teaching them how to train someone, and getting them out within 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yet again, doing the minimum, really.
Essentially, yeah. And then obviously you kind of see the minimum coming from those personal trainers, don't you? Because obviously they've literally just got given that, but they haven't actually seen the other side being, well, actually, I need to go that extra mile to what Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson always says, always be the hardest worker in the room. And obviously apologies in this episode that I've gone to another celebrity because I've hit Elon, I've spoken about teachers and a few other people. But yeah, you always have to, essentially from the business side of things, you always have to be the hardest worker in the room, isn't it, when it comes to that thing out of it, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, the two things you're going to get out of it is obviously, you know, you're going to have the enjoyment, which is one of them, and then you're going to have sort of what we have in the business is like recurring commission kind of thing, isn't it? Because in your side, you will have obviously the word of mouth, isn't it? So if you obviously train people really well, they're going to obviously tell their friends about you, and then they're going to start going over to you, I think, and then obviously you are sort of going to see a traction of obviously more and more people coming and seeing you, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And the hardest work in the room literally is a lot of coaches that you've seen them online, you've seen them post content daily, and the question that I got asked the other day was this poor woman was like asked me questions in my DMs, and at the end of it she was like, I feel so really bad not paying you for it. I'm asking you all this information and you're giving it to me. Like why? And I was like, well, one, you're either going to see it in my content. Two, you can Google most of the stuff that I actually know. But because there's so much misinformation out on there, you could Google it and get all the wrong information. The purpose of my job is to teach you the right stuff, teach you the right knowledge, and make sure that you are accountable at the end of the day. And the reason being that so many coaches don't do that is because they just want to charge £50 an hour for going in there, completely demolishing someone to the point they're pretty much crawling out the gym, and right, job done, on to the next one.
Yeah.
And that's it. And the sad thing is people will buy into that because they think that's how they need to feel when they do the gym each time. They don't know that it's actually all the other stuff that you require. So all the knowledge on nutrition, calories, macros, how to properly train yourself, how to create a program. And the reason that a lot of coaches do this, in my opinion, is to make sure people come back to them. Because they need them. So they make their clients feel like if I was to leave your services tomorrow, I will not have an idea of what I'm doing because I've relied on you for so long that because they haven't taught them anything, they just like, well, if I leave you now, I'm going to put it all on. I'm not going to be able to train hard. I'm not going to have that motivation there. And yeah, they'll do their 6-week program or whatever, and then come back to them because they're like, well, I need you for another 6 weeks because I'm going to not be able to do the work by myself. And the sad thing is, this was me at the beginning. I was training people for an hour, sending them home, giving them advice, just saying, oh yeah, make sure you don't overdo it with your food and stuff like that. And this goes back to the whole trial and error thing that you spoke about earlier, Dave, is that I've made so many mistakes in my business, but I've learned from them. And this is the thing about business. If you're doing stuff perfectly all the time, you're doing something wrong, or you just don't know about it, basically.
Yeah.
And the biggest one I made was my my brand. I have changed my name 2 or 3 times because I just realised I don't need a fancy name. I just need me. Like, hence why my name is now RLS Coaching. It's my initials. My first brand was Omega Fitness. Like, it's got fitness in it, but what made it change was when one of my other half's friends, I had it on my truck, basically, my brand, and she went, oh, I thought I was a gardening company. And
Right.
I was just like, oh God, I need to change it.
Oh God.
And, yeah, basically. And then I changed it to something else. Like, I still use my initials, but I changed it to Real Lifestyle Services. It was kind of going down the right route, but then it wasn't personal. Now I've made it personal. Like, the thing is, with so many coaches, is that they either make it too personal or not personal enough as well.
Obviously, no, I really enjoyed it, actually. That was good. What makes you stand out? That's good. Right, okay, so just to obviously move on to another topic of our discussion today, sort of mental health and obviously how everything has changed, because obviously we've all been through it, haven't we? 2020 has been a sort of a major pandemic year. Obviously everything sort of kicked off and everything, and obviously mental health's been sort of one of those things that, to be fair, has sort of affected everyone. So in your sort of words and sort of what are your thoughts, obviously, do you think that everything that's sort of currently sort of going in the world, obviously mental health problems will play a sort of a massive part still?
Mental health will always be an issue. I think the main thing that we can take from the last, I would say, about 10 years is that it's more known. Like, people don't look down on people suffering in silence. And it unfortunately it's took a lot of deaths, especially celebrity deaths, to actually highlight the issues that are going on in the world. The sad fact is, if certain people had died, like Robin Williams, Chester from Linkin Park, can't think any more off the top of my head, if they didn't commit suicide because of the depression and mental illness, it still wouldn't be known today that people suffer in silence. Like, the happiest people are actually sometimes the saddest, which the thing with myself as well, I've gone out my way to pick up a couple of actually free qualifications through UK coaching surrounding mental health, so I can become a little bit known and get my knowledge on it a little bit better. Like what I touched on earlier with when I was in my old job, with my old relationship, I actually suffered a little bit from depression myself. I didn't realise that at the time, but now looking back at it, I was severely depressed. And that was the reason for my weight gain, I had mood swings. And the thing is, you could look at someone and not even know that they're suffering inside. And that's the saddest part. And the even worse part is sometimes they don't even know why they're like that. They're just like that because of that mental illness. But yeah, I think going on, like, it's always going to be a massive part in anything. as you can see in the pandemic, like suicide cases rose, I think about 20%. Don't quote me on the actual percentage. But yeah, suicide rates shot through the roof, mainly because obviously everyone was locked inside. Some people were alone, and the fact that the only thing kind of keeping them from taking their own life could have been potentially seeing their family, seeing their friends, the gym, or just going outside in the wild, basically. And it's never going to get better, I don't think. I think it's just going to become more known to people how to kind of potentially help people who are in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with you.
What do you think causes most of mental health problems?
Going back to what I literally just said, sometimes I don't think there is a cause, but taking current world situations, obviously you've got stuff going on overseas in Ukraine and Russia, that's going to cause a lot of mental illnesses for the people over there. PTSD, stuff like that. But the stuff that's going on overhead, to make it a little bit more local, obviously the cost of living massively going up, whether it's petrol, whether it's food, electricity, gas. The fact that people have to now decide whether they're going to potentially heat or their water or actually have electricity in their homes to actually feeding their families is ridiculous, and it's only going to get worse, which a lot of financial advisors and stuff have already said. And the thing is, people were struggling already, especially when it comes to money, where they're living paycheck to paycheck. And the fact that everything's now gone up, but money that people are getting into their own homes hasn't gone up as well, that's only going to cause a lot more issues for people as well, because they're going to be like, well, I can't physically buy food for my family. And then that's just going to cause even more kind of like worries, it's going to cause stress. And I think there's different causes for mental health, like whether it's stress, whether it's bad relationships, and I think as well, like it can literally come out of nowhere. Going from the fitness industry as well, there's people out there with like body dysmorphia as well, who are the biggest, most leanest people in the gym, and they suffer from a mental illness as well. It's quite astonishing, really, because you look at them, they're in really good shape, but in their heads they either look too fat or too skinny.
It feels like they're obviously having this fight, don't they? Obviously in their brain, thinking obviously what's right, what's wrong, kind of thing, isn't it?
Exactly. And as I say, I don't think anything causes mental illness or mental health problems. I think there's more triggers. Whether it could be from past experience, whether it can be from current situations. And I think as well, we're at school and stuff like that, you're never taught how to deal with your emotions either. And I don't know how the school system is now. Hopefully it's a lot better than what it was potentially when we were all at school. But sometimes when you're having an issue, sometimes you're just told to get on with it. And for three men here as well, the amount of pressure that is onto men has eased off a little bit. Obviously, it's become a lot more known because obviously men's suicide rates are a little bit higher than females, but it still does kind of just trying to get my words out. It still doesn't answer the fact of why. You could I don't even think they've even put it down to being. You could potentially be born with it, and you don't know. And it's the same when you go and complete your subject when you talk about serial killers. Why is a serial killer a serial killer? Is it because they were born like that, or was it
or something triggers?
Life? It's exactly the same. I know it's a completely different end of the spectrum, but it's the same. It's the same thing. Like, was someone potentially born with that trait, or was it a trigger somewhere along the line, whether it's past or present? And the main answer is not what caused it. Sometimes it's what can we do to either prevent it or help it.
Yeah. What do you think, obviously, in your mind, could be something that potentially maybe could obviously help the situation, you know? I know, obviously, every single case is sort of needs to be dealt with differently, but sort of like the main thing to start with, what do you think could potentially be the start of sort of dealing with it?
I think some sort of, obviously coming from the fitness background, the amount of people that I've came across on my actual business, my journey, exercise has helped massively in one. Just whether it's actually going out and just having a walk, getting more active, or actually going to the gym, actually doing something, lifting heavy and kind of like getting some sort of aggression out. Whether it's a sport to play as well, or just talking to someone. The issue is that a lot of people that suffer from mental health don't talk to people, because a lot of people that are actually listening think they understand.
Yeah.
But the person talking don't want you to understand. They just want someone to listen to. They don't want you to say, oh, yeah, I know how you're feeling, or, oh, I know it's going to get better. They just want you to listen. They just want someone to vent to. And if we all kind of made it a little bit more of a necessity not to always one-up people and say, oh, I know how you're feeling, or I've been through that situation myself.
Yeah.
People will feel a lot more comfortable just opening up to people, because they won't feel like they're going to be judged.
Yeah.
No, that's true. One thing that I will add to that is, well, obviously, looking out for what you said, obviously, sort of fitness being the thing that it helps you obviously clear your mind, kind of thing. I know from sort of my personal side, when I was sort of in a bad relationship as well, it was really hard. It just felt like you sort of, when you haven't got that place to switch off to, it feels like you're sort of in this grey area, really, in your mind. Like, there isn't anything going, there isn't anything creating, there isn't anything happening, sort of thing. And I, a lot of times, felt like that. And I think, obviously, fitness is one of those things which is sort of easy. You go in, you literally just work your ass off, swearing, there we go, and you literally just, like, feel so much better. You sort of come out of that place feeling so refreshed, so much more sort of, like, eyes open, like, ready to do something else, if you know what I mean. And if you continue on doing that sort of on regular, which, again, there is something, obviously, that everyone keeps saying, 21 days to create a habit. If you make a habit out of it, it makes you sort of, on day-to-day, better with days, you feel better, you feel more refreshed, you feel more energized, you know. And I think Ben can relate to that as well. Yeah, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I think you both covered it off perfectly, really. I know. I think, like you covered off earlier, you said about suicide rates for men at the minute and being so high. That's like something I think all men are sort of seeing as well at the minute, and sort of relating to and feeling, really, with their own sort of pressures and having to be this, I guess, like, provider and this sort of, I don't know, it's something that's built in, isn't it, to all men, I think. It's this thing of, I guess, not showing any weakness, I guess, and stuff like that. And, like, I think I'm seeing out there now that more and more men are sort of opening up a bit more. I just hope that continues to happen, really, and, like, seeks help, and hopefully seeing this podcast will hopefully help some people as well. So.
I'll touch on what you've said, actually. You know, for years and years and years, men have always been sort of described as, obviously, like you just described, a provider, the one that, you know, everyone can go to. He's like the main guy, kind of thing, isn't it? And so essentially, for all these years, there is a lot on our shoulders. You know, don't matter if you're in a relationship, not in a relationship, whatever your situation is, there is a lot going on men's shoulders. Like, there's a lot of sitting on there, isn't it? And it's just how we deal with it. Like, we've seen some things, obviously, on Oscars a few months ago, Will Smith, obviously, to what is happening in his personal life, how he sort of that affected him, isn't it? We've seen that. No one actually thought that this might happen, but actually, there's more sort of deeper context to what obviously, his actions were. There's something behind that no one actually knows. So yeah, it is sort of like, it's quite scary, actually. We're in 2022, and then this is still the sort of the main issue, and obviously, like you said, Ross, like how can we, what sort of triggers, what can we find for us then to obviously sort of release that pressure a little bit on day to day, if you know what I mean? So obviously that doesn't create us an issue going forward. What can we do as humans and men? Like,
I think the main thing is that I've found, either with my own situation or with people that I've worked with, is someone you can rely on to talk to, that, as I said, who's actually going to listen and not kind of like make judgment or kind of say one up you. Find a hobby, whether it's like my one is gaming, some sort of outlet that isn't physical. So more of a mental outlet. So let's say gaming, reading, something that's going to take your mind off of whatever's potentially causing that mental stress, mental depression, or whatever. And physical outlet as well. The thing with stress and stuff like that as well, it releases different hormones, and there are certain hormones that are triggered through certain processes, such as exercise, such as sleep, such as good nutrition and stuff like that as well. If we aim to not like eat a completely healthy diet, but eat more of a balanced diet, try and get out a lot more, try and just get our steps in, drink more water, find a hobby that you enjoy that you can potentially do 2 or 3 times a week, and trying to get like 6 to 9 hours of good quality sleep in, and potentially adding on the gym on, or going out for a run, or whatever your exercise routine is going to be. Those little stuff can make a huge difference. And there was one quote that I may completely get it wrong, but if it's something that can be fixed, it's not worth worrying about. If it's something that can't be fixed, why worry about it?
Yeah.
And if people start changing their mindset on stuff and bits like that as well, it can change a completely different outlook on stuff as well. Because if you're having financial issues and taking the current situation into account as well, it's not just you that are being affected by it. It's everyone. Yeah. So can you fix it? Potentially not. Or you can fix it and be like, well, if I work a little bit harder, get a little bit of money on the side, I can then provide for my family. It's having different outlooks sometimes as well, and having those extra non-negotiables of, as I say, getting decent night's sleep in, eating a little bit better, and potentially exercising or getting a decent hobby in, can just help get those hormones going in your body to actually make you think a little bit straighter as well.
Okay, so what's something that people kind of misunderstand about mental health, do you think, in your opinion?
So going back to kind of what I said before, I think the misunderstanding of it is that you could potentially feel the way you do because of literally nothing. Like, there might not even, like, all the triggers and the stuff that we said about earlier, it might necessarily literally be nothing. You could have the perfect life, but there's that one thing in your head for some reason saying you're not got the perfect life, or you don't look the way you look, or you don't feel the way you feel. And that's what people seem to not understand, is that you can feel that because you just do. And sometimes you doing all the stuff that I literally just listed off, going to the gym and stuff like that, may not actually help. You could potentially require more help, whether that's in the form of a professional, a therapist potentially. I don't like going down the drug route of potentially going to your doctors and getting prescribed something, but some people may need something to potentially help their mood a little bit. I don't like the fact of having to potentially take something to make you feel better. But if it's going to help that individual, as long as it's not long term, in my opinion, if it's just short term to potentially help them get past the way that they feel, then yes, obviously prescribe them something. But if they can potentially get help through a professional who's going to help sit them down, potentially go through what they're feeling and ask them why, or not even find out why, just kind of like get all their feelings out on the table and vent out and go through a process of helping them, whether it's a matter of weeks, months, years. That I think that's going to be the better route. But I think there are stuff out there that are free nowadays for mental health, and I think people need to take their time out to maybe learn a little bit more about it, listening to a podcast like this, for example, and getting a little bit more information on it. And it's okay not to know everything about mental health, but just knowing that sometimes just listening to people can make them feel a hell of a lot better. You may not be a professional psychiatrist or therapist, but that one person who could potentially be the link of them feeling a little bit better, I would happily sit there and listen to people, whether it will help or not. And I've said this time and time again on my content, like my DMs are always open for people just to literally send me a message and just say, look, I feel like shit, and vent to me, basically. And or it could be anything, like if money issues, if you've got you're just feeling down for no reason. Like, I'm not a professional. I know a little bit around the background. I've experienced myself. I had people around me experience it as well. And I would happily just have you in my DMs, chat, type whatever you want, even call me. I'd rather listen to your story than read that something else has happened.
Yeah, definitely.
One question that I've got, I sort of wanted to add. Do you think, like, from the side of the, well, I'm going to put this out on the broader scale. Do you think, like, the government and obviously, like, the health service should sort of step in a bit more and sort of invest more into helping with mental health these days?
100%. Going back to some of the people that I've actually been in contact with, sometimes it can take too long to get the help that you need. And the services and the NHS itself is just drawn to the point of absolute exhaustion anyway. And whether it's physical or mental, their NHS needs something else putting into it to help manage it anyway. Whether the government can fund it or whatnot, yes, they do. 100%.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of changes coming in the NHS in the next few years. From
Hopefully good and positive, which will obviously help on a larger scale, isn't it? Because that's the important bit out of it. I know, obviously, well, you said that, obviously, NHS has been literally run down. Like, it's been, last 2 years, it's just been absolutely manic and mental. But I think, hopefully, with everything that's, well, soon to happen and maybe the support that they can get, obviously, they can help a lot more people out there, aren't they? Which will be nice, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And hopefully the money that is coming from the cost of living, obviously with like tax increases and stuff like that, hopefully goes to something worthwhile.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so now comes to, well, the end of our fantastic podcast. I just wanted to say a massive thank you to Ross for being our first guest. I appreciate you coming on and obviously, you know, discussing sort of the important topics that are sort of affecting everyone's lives, which is great. Having your spin and obviously talking about yourself as obviously the personal trainer and obviously the business that you have got, which is, you know, absolutely fantastic. And obviously kudos to you, sir, for what you've obviously done, what you're achieving. So yeah, over to you, Ben.
Yeah, so I'll say thank you for coming on, Ross. I've learned quite a lot myself through this podcast, so which has been amazing. I just want to say to obviously our viewers and people listening that we covered off mental health through obviously this podcast, and one of the things that we mentioned is that financial could be playing a part in that. For the price of a cup of coffee, you literally can take a course and learn more about your financials and learn about how to start an online business. So take some time, like after this podcast or whatever, just check out what we're about and check our link in the bio. Take the 15-day challenge, and we'll see on the other side. Basically, we'll tell you what the process is and how to go from there. So.
I just wanted to add, obviously, about Ross's podcast. You have a podcast of your own as well. Would you like to just tell, obviously, our viewers and our listeners sort of what is your podcast all about?
Yes. First of all, just thank you for having me on here. It's been a pleasure. I say I'd like to help as much as I can, and obviously my podcast as well is more about the bit like what I've been talking about today. A little bit about myself. I talk all about the lifestyle stuff. The topic changes week to week, whether it's mindset, training, nutrition, or I say lifestyle. Last week I was talking about fitness trackers and apps, basically. It's called Results with RLS. I am on Spotify. And yeah, it's something I enjoy. It is just myself, so if you like listening to my voice, come and listen to a little bit more over there. But yeah, I'll happily have you guys on as well, and do one with my on my side as well. So hopefully that's something we can hook up in the future as well.
Absolutely that. All the links, guys, are obviously going to be all in the bios and all the socials. So watch out for obviously the new episode coming out with our special guest, Ross. So until then, take care, guys. See you later.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Cheers.